Thank you for joining us on another edition of The Opinion. Opinion is where we discuss issues that has to do with the country and of course even we as humans. My name is Jonathan Le Rama, welcoming you to today's edition of the program. We'll be discussing on the call for the change of constitution, that's the Nigerian constitution. My guest today will be Barrister Dauda. Yes, you've seen the face before. He's a private legal practitioner. Welcome back. In case you are just joining us, this is Amare TV and the program is The Opinion. And just before the break, I said my guest today will be a legal private practitioner, Barrister Edward Dauda. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And from my introduction, I said we'll be discussing about the 1999 Constitution and of course the call for the change of the Constitution. What will you say concerning the 1999 Constitution so far before we get down to the call for the change?
The 1999 Constitution, that is as amended 2011, is the present constitution operating in Nigeria. And that constitution is very critical. Not what is a constitution? A constitution is a grand norm. It is the fundamental law of the land. There is no law that is bigger and higher than the constitution of that country. Every country should have a constitution once it is operating a written constitution. Of course, there are other forms of constitution, unwritten ones. They're all there. But in our own case of Nigeria, we have a written constitution. And that's the Federal Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended 2011. So it talks about the ground norm, the powers, everything that concerns the nation is inside and embedded in the Constitution.
Now, will you actually say that this Constitution is actually serving its purpose, especially finding the situation that we find ourselves?
Okay. Well, I want to say that we are variance in opinions. For instance, I personally believe that our constitution doesn't serve its purpose. There is a lot of fault inside it. But again, you may choose to say that the constitution itself is not the issue. It is the modus operandi, it is the operation of that constitution that will often have problem. You may have the best constitution, but people operating it may not operate it properly, and definitely it will not work. It's just like a car. You may have a very beautiful car, but if the operator doesn't operate it very well, that car will always be at fault. Now, this constitution that we have, and my own personal opinion, it's full of lacuna, it's full of problems. And I think it calls for, I support the patriotic groups that are saying, let us review it, let's cancel it and write a new one.
From the drafted copy of the Constitution so far. Now, it was during the military era. Now, but then, the Constitution is actually working fine. Now, what happened now?
Actually, like I always say, the military era is an aberration. It's not a normal situation. Now, you will notice that once soldiers take over, what they do, they suspend that constitution. That is what happens when there is a military rule. Now, but come to see or think of it, once we have a constitution operating under a democratic system, we expect every member of the country to operate within the auspices of that constitution. No more, no less. You cannot go beyond a constitution. If you do any act that is not in agreement or consonant with the constitution, it will be declared null and void and of no effect.
The rule of laws that are embedded in it, is Nigeria actually following the rules of this Constitution?
The chapter 4, if you take note, chapter 4 talks about fundamental human rights. So all these are important, but I think we don't need to even start from there. The first point is the beginning of that constitution that says, we the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Again, remember, the one we are operating was drafted by the military. It starts with falsehood. Falsehood and falsification, of course, makes a document illegal, null and void. So I think that's why we are saying that there is a fundamental fault in that constitution. Like I said, and I will still say, if something is fundamentally wrong, even biblically, there is no way legality can stand on illegality.
Now, the Constitution of Nigeria has amended. From experience so far, from then and now, how will you assess the performance of these constitutions in Nigeria daily lives?
Maybe we need to go through historical length For instance, in 1960, in fact 1956 or even 55, we had several regions. The Midwestern region, they had their constitution. The Northern Nigeria, it has constitution. Let's go back to history. And then the Eastern Nigeria had its own constitution. But when we came and tried the federalist system, that is in 1960, the so-called political independence, of course, we had the 1960 constitution. In 1966, it was suspended by the coming of the military rule. Then again, when we had the Second Republic, which came, Shagari 1979, it was put on track again. We came and failed. We came again in 1999, and that's where we are. So we have always been truncating the workability of this constitution, and it cannot be faultless, because definitely, if we had allowed it to work with time, by now we'll have been ready to see, do we need to cancel it? Do we need to amend it? But my view, personal view, candid view, is that we should abrogate, cancel this constitution, write a new one. It is full of lacuna. It doesn't even meet the fault of our present time and seasons that we are.
We are still watching The Opinion on Amarel TV, and we have been discussing about the Constitution. And I still have Barrister Edward Dauda. We'll be right back after this break. Glad to know that you are still watching The Opinion on Amarel Television, and I still have Barrister Edward Dauda. And we have been discussing about the 1999 constitutions, and just before the break you are also supporting that yes, the 1999 constitution should be changed. Now from some prominent Nigerians are also calling for the change in the constitution, that the constitution should reflect the people, should carry the people and the wish of the people. Will you actually support strongly in that direction?
Yes, I'm in strong support of a complete change of the constitution. Number one, the sheer size. It doesn't have to be that big. I have been saying that, look, constitutions in most countries are very small. The American constitution is so small, you can put it in your pocket and walk about with it.
This cause now, don't you think that it will affect the reconstruction or the building of this great nation?
Yes, it must. Now, when you have been using a system, and that system is full of flaws and faults, there are complaints here and there. Why don't you, come on, stop at a point, check what's wrong. And I want to think what is fundamental must be addressed. You must address it from the root itself. You must say, this is what is wrong. If you keep doing wrong things, you are going to get wrong results.
Now, is it the whole part of the constitution that is actually wrong?
Yes, we need to sit down.
That needs to be changed?
Yeah, we need to sit down and study all the segments, the chapters, the sections. We must study them, reorganize them. We are intelligent enough to do that.
Now, if you are to pick a time frame for this constitution to be changed, within the space of 1 year or within the space of months that you want this constitution should be changed?
This government is almost 2 years old, okay? And I think the tenure should not finish. And this matter is still hanging on the wind. I think this issue of constitution should end up with Tinubu's regime. I don't know whether it's coming for the second tenure, whatever it is. But you see, like now, we even need to define tenureship. How long should we have a president? Some of us are thinking of single term for president and governors. You know, single term, 5 years is enough. You do what you do, we bring another person. And whether we will bring better solution. Look at where we are. Do we have to use presidential system? It's too expensive. Why can't we adjust that? Why can't we think of something pseudo presidential and parliamentarian? You know, we can marry them together and still practice democracy. There are 6 zones in this country. Why can't we centralize government in these 6 zones and put states under them? And then we see how they operate. Let them compete with each other. And we see whether something better will happen. Bola Tinubu, with due respect to him, will do the nation a good thing. Being a senior statesman, and said, I did something that was laudable. Let him rearrange this constitution.
Will this new constitution that they are clamoring for actually change the face of the country to the entire world?
Honestly, I think if it is done, there will be some changes. I see changes in the polity of Nigeria. And I use the word polity, not politics. The construction of Nigeria will change. I think we have been trying something that has often failed, and we keep on saying we must try it. It will again fail. If you try wrong things, you get wrong results.
Thank you for coming to the program, sir.
You're welcome.
I sincerely appreciate your presence.
You're welcome.
That is about the size of today's edition of the program, The Opinion, where we take a critical look at the call for the change of the Nigerian Constitution. Join us next week for another interesting edition of the program. I'm Jonathan Le Rama. See you then.